5 years ago, the military's highest glass ceiling finally got shattered. Army General Ann Dunwoody became the first female woman in U.S. military history to be awarded 4 stars. During her near 40-year career in the Army, General Dunwoody continued to make history. She supported the largest deployment and redeployment of U.S. forces since World War II, and she also managed the largest global logistics command in Army history. Earlier, I spoke to General Dunwoody, and I started off by asking her how she felt when former President George Bush nominated her as a 4-star general.
I've had a lot of firsts in my life, as you can imagine, in the military, first female this and first female that. And when I was promoted to 4 stars, it was such a humbling experience. But there's only 11 of them in the Army. And when the nomination came out, the number of cards and letters and tidal waves of emails from young kids, moms and dads, women veterans of all wars, that said, gosh, now I can tell my daughter that she can be anything she wants to be, to include a 4-star in the Army. Those things just gave me goosebumps, and they resonated with me.
The military is often regarded as a bit of a boys' club. We hear widespread stories of sexism, chauvinism. Are those elements still present today compared to when you started?
Yeah, I think they're present in every profession. People are people. And just because people make policy changes, it doesn't mean you always change people's attitudes or their biases or prejudice. Now, I'll tell you what I witnessed during my career, and I came in the Women's Army Corps, that's how long ago, which was kind of a separate women's army for the women who desired to serve. And when that was disestablished, shortly after I joined, we began the integration of women into the Army. And so during my almost 4 decades in the military, I watched the doors continue to open. And it wasn't just me, it was a whole cohort of women that came in the military at that time, which led this integration into the regular Army and started the journey. But we built our journey on women of the past who were great trailblazers, who made great inroads, who showed women can do a lot of things, and they're very capable. And our generation continued that journey. And that's what I witnessed during my 4 decades, that the doors continue to open.
Throughout your career, you've actually broken several records, made history, really. I know in your career you supported the deployment and then the redeployment of the largest U.S. forces since World War II. You also managed the largest global logistics command in Army history. Did it ever occur to you as you were climbing the ladder that you were really making history here?
You know, I didn't really view it that way. I viewed each command assignment as a privilege of leading these great men and women during a time of great challenges. And I didn't do anything by myself. I did it with a team of teams, great Americans who worked hard, who knew how important their mission was. And I think the challenge for leaders is to make sure that every individual in your unit, whether you're a platoon leader or a commander of 69,000 soldiers, that each individual in that organization knows how important he or she is to the accomplishment of that mission, whether they're a mechanic, whether they're a depot, whether they're a staff sergeant, platoon leader, or whether they're on the Corps staff. It's just, if they come to work every day and know how important their role is, there's nothing your organization can't do.
We know that the unemployment rates for veterans is quite high, especially for women, more so than men. Why do you think it's so difficult for veterans to find jobs once they come back to civilian life?
Well, unlike most wars, this one, we have recognized and identified one of those invisible illnesses, and that's post-traumatic stress syndromes. And that makes people fearful of behavior that soldiers might exhibit, whether they're in uniform or now out. And I think the military has come to grips with this and done a tremendous amount of work to identify, help, and assist these soldiers to get better. And I also think America is now coming to grips with this and understands the importance and the value that our veterans bring to their organizations: leadership skills, technical skills, team building skills. The fact that women have a higher unemployment rate, veterans, it is troubling. And we need to take time to organize opportunities to get these folks together independently, women veterans. They have different needs, they have different issues, and to be able to talk to them so that we can address those issues and address them openly. And I think we as Americans owe our veterans a quality of life that is equal to their quality of service and their quality of sacrifice.
You recently published a book called A Higher Standard, and in that you talk about the core principles and strategies that you utilized as a leader to help you achieve enormous success. Talk to me about some of those core guiding principles that helped you bring you where you are today.
It's such a great question, and it took a lot of reflection. And I'd start by saying my leadership skills initially came from my family, my education, and from fitness. And when I say fitness, I mean physical fitness, mental fitness, emotional fitness, and spiritual fitness. You know, I had the best mom and dad a kid could ever want and ever dream of. My dad being a war hero, 31 years in the service and 3 wars. My mom, a devout Catholic, who was the most selfless person I have ever met and the most gracious person, who pretty much raised 6 kids on her own. And she taught me that the glass was always half full, never half empty. She taught me no matter what the weather forecast, it was never going to rain on our parade. And she told me I could be anything I wanted to be. And then in the military, I learned as I went along. I learned from my very first platoon sergeant. He trained me. He taught me what right looks like. Second Lieutenant Dunwoody, coming into the Army. Yes, I was an Army brat, but now I'm a leader. And he taught me, and this was after the Vietnam War, when we were kind of a broken, hollow Army at the time, what right looked like. He taught me to never walk by a mistake, or you just you set a new lower standard. And so along my journey, which is what I tried to capture in the book, were the lessons that I learned either from my family and my youth, and then along the way that I saw in other good leaders, coaches and mentors, and takeaways that I think apply not just to folks in the military, not just to women, but people in all walks of life.
That was General Ann Dunwoody, the first woman in U.S. military history to be awarded 4 stars.